Everybody, thank you. Oh, just got the recording notification. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. It is 5:33, so we'll go ahead and get started. If I can click to the next slide. Bear with me. All right. So if I haven't met you, my name is Christy Inauen. I am the Associate Director of Femba Admissions Outreach here at UCLA Anderson. Really happy to see you all here today. I know it's been a kind of a rough start to the year, so it's a big deal that you're here today, spending your evening with us. So we're very glad that you're interested in learning more about UCLA Anderson's Femba program, along with our real estate focused career resources. So today, instead of it being more of a Femba admissions requirements deep dive, this info session will be focused on UCLA Anderson resources that Femba students have access to that can help them achieve their goals within the real estate industry. So some of you may be in the real estate industry already, and others of you are maybe interested in making a career switch into the industry. So no matter what your goals are, we are here today to talk to you about how you can make that happen with our resources as a student in the program. So today's agenda, we will be going until 7 p.m. this evening, and I'll be starting off with a quick fully employed MBA overview, and then handing it over to Tim Kawahara, who is the executive director of the UCLA Zimen Center. He'll be speaking about the resources you could tap into during your time in the program. And then we'll finish off with about the last 1 hour with our Femba student and alumni panel, which will give you the opportunity to ask them questions about their career path so far, any resources they really found useful during their time here, and much more. So let's go ahead and get started. So as you may know, the Fully Employed MBA program is one of our 2 part-time MBA programs at UCLA Anderson. The other one is the Executive MBA program. So Fully Employed MBA allows you to continue working full-time while going to school. So you're earning your MBA while working full-time, and you're putting to use what you're learning right away, right? So you go to school in the evenings, weekends, or a hybrid of online and on campus, and you're able to immediately apply what you're learning and draw ties from what you're experiencing at work into the classroom discussion, and vice versa. Draw some ties from what you're learning in the classroom at work. So the very interactive experience and enriching experience, because you're going to be exposed to so many different students in many different industries and functions. So not only will you be learning from your professors, but you will be learning from your classmates as well. So the great thing about the Femba program is that in the end, you're still getting a Master's of Business Administration from UCLA Anderson. So it's the same degree as a full-time program, same faculty. It just is a different format, which would allow you to continue working. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have a few different schedule options, which are very flexible. Again, it is designed to be a program that will allow you to continue fully working during the entirety of the program, if that's what you choose to do, whether it be in the same job or in a new job. Many of our students, and actually most of our students, do make some kind of career shift during the program, whether it be getting promoted or making a switch in function or industry. So again, one of the schedule options is to do 2 evenings during the week. So those are the weeknight. That's the weeknight schedule option. And then another option is to do all day Saturday. So you'll be doing a course in the morning and a course in the afternoon. And then the third option would be our monthly, or also known as hybrid schedule option, which only requires you to come to campus 1 weekend per month with an online component during the week. So that one is very flexible, allowing students to even commute from out of town, out of state, and sometimes even out of the country. And of course, right now we are fully online due to the circumstances, but it looks like there's some promise that we'll be back to these normal in-person schedule options by fall, if everything goes well. So the fully employed MBA program is a 27-month part-time program. So that is the traditional amount of time that it takes to complete the program, but you do have the option to stretch it out a little bit longer to 3 years or even up to 5 years if you choose to. So there is a lot of flexibility. It is an 80-unit program. The first 44 courses are, 44 units are your core courses, and then the last 36 units are your elective courses. And during your elective courses, you get to really customize your learning experience and plug in electives related to real estate, finance, entrepreneurship, whatever it may be. There is a variety of courses you can choose from to make it really serve your goals best. So of course, one of the biggest highlights of being part of the UCLA Anderson MBA program is having access to our award-winning faculty. Because this is a real estate focused event, I had to take a moment and just highlight one of our most popular professors at UCLA Anderson, Professor Eric Sussman, who happens to teach both accounting and real estate courses. He's definitely one of our favorites and is constantly being awarded for his teaching skills. So over his time at UCLA Anderson, he has been awarded, multiple teaching awards, including the Business Week's top 10 most popular professors in the US. So if you do end up at UCLA Anderson and would like to focus courses in real estate or accounting, he's definitely one to check out. He is very, very interactive. Now, another resource I want to point out at UCLA Anderson that FEMBAs specifically get access to is our Femba Career Services team. So our career services team is amazing. They have a lot of experience working specifically with working professionals who are either looking to enhance their careers, switch into something new, or start their own entrepreneurial venture. So it is a team of career coaches and executives in residence who can coach you one-on-one. They also put on workshops, webinars, networking events, and you do have access to on-campus recruiting as a FEMBA student if you opt into that. So if that's something you want to do, it definitely is a big time commitment, and only a minority of the FEMBA student body chooses to do that for internships and jobs, but it is there as an option for you if it's something you're interested in. Okay, so now I want to hand it over to Tim Kawahara, who will be speaking about the UCLA Zimen Center resources that students can tap into during their program experience. Tim is the founding executive director of the UCLA Zimen Center for Real Estate and is responsible for the day-to-day operations of the center. And he's been so kind to join us here today to talk to you all about their resources. So Tim, let me pull up your slides. 1 second. Okay. Okay, I'll hand it over to you, Tim.
Great. Well, thanks for having me. I think you could flip to the next slide there, Christy. Great. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I speak to a lot of prospective students, literally thousands over the years. So kind of have this pitch down. So what is the Zimen Center? I don't know if you guys have done some research online about the Anderson School, but there are these what we call centers of excellence, or basically research centers that focus along industry lines attached at the school here. There's one in economic forecasting, there's entertainment, entrepreneurship, marketing, several. So we're one of those. We own the real estate sector, and we're about I guess about 20 years old now, and there are several similar research centers in real estate across the country. We feel like we've built out a really incredible platform, particularly for students that are interested in real estate as a profession. So the center itself, we sort of have four constituents that we serve. One is the industry. So a lot of people don't realize that our center is actually funded 100% by the private sector, so the real estate industry and philanthropists. So we need to drive value to that constituent group. And so we have a board who's sort of a who's who of real estate here in Southern California, and indeed even in the nation and across the globe. We have international board members. They want access to human capital. They want access to our thought leadership, our research, our reports. And that's how we drive value there. Another constituent group would be, UCLA is a major research institution, so faculty and faculty research. So we do lots of programming around, providing grant funding for faculty to do real estate in their particular fields. We do white papers, research papers that get published in journals, and so that's a big part of what we do as well. Then UCLA, for some of you that don't know, is ranked the #1 public university in the nation. We actually take that very seriously with respect to the public mandate. So we have done a lot of work that I'd put sort of in the service, community service bucket. That includes things like research and teaching on affordable housing, homelessness, smart urban design, and those types of things. And I should mention that we look at real estate even though we're housed here at the business school and we're very business centric, we do have relationships across the entire campus. Working relationships with, for example, the law school, urban planning, architecture, Institute of the Environment, even the School of Public Health, where we have a program that looks at the social determinants of health with respect to housing and housing choices. So we view real estate very interdisciplinary, and in fact, are a joint center with the law school here. Even though you're here to learn the business of real estate, it's such a broad, interrelated, multidisciplinary business that we want to try to create other opportunities for you as well within the sector. So why don't we go to the next slide? So the fourth and last constituent group are the students, and so that's what we're going to get into today. I think you could skip that one, Christy. There you go. Okay. So we designed the curriculum for real estate here at Anderson. We've also done that for the undergraduate level in the law school as well. But this is the curriculum we put together. It's pretty robust. I think we've done a lot of benchmarking. It's as robust, or probably more robust than most of the real estate curriculums at the top business schools across the country. And we thought very strategically about how we put this together. Wanted to make sure we got all the major sort of areas focused. As Christy mentioned, some of our most popular faculty at all of Anderson happen to teach in the real estate program. So not just Sussman, who I'm glad he's not listening because his head would be even bigger than it is. But also Paul Habibi is another one. There's Stuart Gabriel. The mix of our faculty, we have a couple ladder track faculty, and then the rest are practitioners. So they have real life experience in the real estate industry. And of course, they bring those set of experiences to the classroom. So we do offer what's called a certificate in real estate. So it's like a specialization. You would still get a general management degree, the MBA, but you could specialize across these different silos here at Anderson, and UCLA is one of them. So if you take a certain number of courses here, you will get conferred a certificate on top of your MBA indicating that you did a specialization in real estate. So this is just a rough mix of the courses. The one required course is this course 278A, which is Urban Real Estate Finance and Investing. That's a basic introduction to real estate finance and investment. It's the gateway course, the one required foundational course. And then we do things like securitization, debt markets. Sussman does this cases in real estate investments, where he actually takes some of his real deals into the classroom and models them. entrepreneurial real estate development. So those of you who are interested in development, we have a specific course for that. Capital market securitization. We have a really wonderful lawyer who clerked for Supreme Court Justice teaching a real estate law and taxation course. And then we do have some, I think it's the only one of its kind in MBA programs across the country, but a specific course in affordable housing development. And for those of you that live in major metropolitan areas, you know that housing shortage is just incredibly acute. And so developing affordable housing it's a very niche, but it's also a very important part of solving some of these greater societal issues that we hope to do. We do a lot of impact related work as well, like this homelessness and affordable housing that has kind of double, triple bottom line, where you can actually do quite well in terms of profit, but also deliver something meaningful to address societal need. And I think that sort of thematic permeates across a lot of our different programs. But when we get to the question and answer portion, happy to answer any questions about the curriculum. I think, what we're looking at, it's very comprehensive. There's a couple of courses that we are thinking about adding. One would be a course in international real estate, because it's such a global economy. And then probably something in the prop tech area. If any of you are familiar with real estate, it's a very old business that was ripe for disruption. So lots of technology is coming in, and that's our whole emerging field that we call prop tech. And this is for the FEMBA program. So I should mention that virtually all of our courses, we try to offer them in FEMBA friendly time slots. So they'll be in the evenings primarily. So either the 4 to 7 or 7 to 10 time slots. So should it preclude you from taking most of the curriculum that we offer here at the Zimen Center. So why don't we go to the next slide? These are just some of the student groups that we have here that we oversee through the Zimen Center across campus. The one that you would want to focus in on is the area, the Anderson Real Estate Association. So we have a number of programs for students, and we'll go over them in a minute, but all of those opportunities are marketed through area. So you would definitely want to join that group. And there are several FEMBAs, and in fact, they're very organized and have a board, and there's even a FEMBA rep on the board. So very inclusive for the FEMBA students. Why don't we go to the next slide? So here are just some of the programmatic offerings. We went over the curriculum, but we also offer really a robust set of extracurricular activities. So one are trainings. One of the reasons why folks come to business school in real estate and want to maybe career switch or stay in real estate at a higher level is to really beef up your finance skills, your financial modeling skills. That's kind of what separates the service providers from sort of the principal investors and owners of real estate. We certainly teach a lot of that in the classroom, but we actually offer supplemental trainings as well. The Zimen Center pays for those students, so it's free of charge. Argus is one, REFM is another. Those are two financial modeling. And if any of you are in real estate, you've probably heard of these, but Argus, for example, is the industry standard software for modeling real estate deals. Most prospective employers are going to ask you if you understand financial modeling of real estate, or if you know Argus specifically. And so it's so important that we actually offer that to our students outside of the actual classroom. And then also LEED GA. So those of you who are interested in sustainable building or green building, there's some professional certifications available through what's called the U.S. Green Buildings Council. The designation is LEED GA. There's a whole range of them, but we offer that training for our students as well that are interested in that space. We offer what are called case competitions. These are typically where 5 or 6 students will work on a hypothetical case, come up with highest best use, and propose a solution or a project or highest best use for a parcel of land somewhere. We do several. We have sent students to UT Austin, North Carolina, MIT. We have some that are here local. These tend to be a little more challenging for FEMBA students because a lot of the preparation takes place during the daytime. But we don't prohibit FEMBA students from being part of these teams either. If you have some flexibility in your schedule, they're really wonderful ways to apply what you've learned in the classroom, looking at a real life hypothetical deal. And so a range of case competitions that we offer. Of course, a lot of students are interested in career services, so we do a lot in that area as well. And again, FEMBAs are fully invited to participate along with the other MBA programs. Every spring, we put together an industry night. We typically draw about 50 to 60 real estate companies that come in and want to interact with our students. Even in the COVID environment, we're going to do it remotely this year, and we're still expecting 60 students to come by. That's a great way to interface with recruiters and companies that you might be interested in pursuing. We do bind a resume book. So all of our students interested in real estate, regardless of the program you're in, we take your resume, which you can certainly tailor towards a real estate audience. You may be considering other sectors as well. We bind those resumes and send them to all of our corporate contacts, which are extensive. And I can tell you that as soon as we send that out, I mean, I start getting calls and emails left and right from these companies asking about certain candidates. And so it's quite effective in getting the word out. It probably goes out to over 500 companies. So a lot of eyeballs see our resume book. We also do things called days in the job, where companies will open up their offices, and typically the C-suite will give a presentation about the company, what they do, their business strategy, their platform. And it's a really great way for you to get to know the company, but also for the company to get to know you with respect to potential hiring. Of course, we're located here in Southern California, and I like to tell our students that LA is your laboratory, and you should take advantage of everything that LA has to offer in terms of the real estate space. So we do arrange tours. Sussman and Habibi, who were mentioned early, professors, do a couple of bus tours a year. They're really fun, where they just drive around and look at different real estate projects around town. I think it also involves a lot of beer drinking, but those are fun. We do offer some financial aid as well, which are, again, all open to FEMBAs to apply for. We also have a fellowship program. So in the financial aid, there's a financial aid office that oversees all of it. So you can request and apply for any of the fellowships, scholarships that we offer. We do have a couple of honorary fellowship programs. They're named after a couple of our board members endowed, and they come with some benefits and accoutrements as well. One is the Bren Fellowship. So we pick students who are interested in real estate entrepreneurship specifically, that are, start their own businesses. Peter liked to say he never took a paycheck in his life. He was self-made and built his own businesses. And so that's kind of this Peter spirit. And that comes with, people apply, and we pick about 4 or 5 fellows a year. There's a $5,000 cash award. There's priority enrollment in all of our courses, and then there's a capstone course for that program as well. Similarly, we have an honorary fellowship program called the Howard and Irene Veen Fellowship. Those are for our students who are really, we call those our do-good students, the students that are really interested in giving back in some way. So those are our affordable housing students, students interested in homelessness, sustainable building, that kind of thing. And it has the same set of accoutrements that the Bren Fellowship program has. Of course, one thing we try to do, and it's one of the things that prospective students always ask about, is networking, the network of the school, and with respect to real estate. So we have several programs that we do. One of our objectives here through the Zimen Center is not just to educate you and give you these wonderful extracurricular opportunities, but also to build your network, build a very strong network in the real estate space. And for those of you that are in the space, in the industry already, you know that it's a very networky, people-driven industry. And so developing a nice, I used the word Rolodex the other day. I'm not even sure if students today know what a Rolodex is, but you develop a nice contact list of folks who, you can leverage for the rest of your careers. We do something called Dinners for 8, which has been a very popular program, both with our full-time MBAs and our part-time MBAs, FEMBAs, called Dinners for 8. And we would typically have one of our luminaries or our board members who have made it, really, really big in the industry, to just host an informal dinner with 8 students, just shoot the breeze, very informal. And again, that's just another way to get in front of people who have been incredibly successful in the industry and who could potentially help you as well. I'm hoping that by the fall, when you all might come to campus, that we'll be back in person. So we've been doing them remotely, but obviously you get a lot more out of them if they're in person. And that's all paid for by the Zimen Center. We set up the location. It's typically at a restaurant here on the west side somewhere. And again, very popular program for all of our students, including FEMBA. And then of course we have the, oh, Jorge. And then we also have what's called we have an annual mentor program where we actually pair one-on-one, that's a one-on-one mentor program where we pair professionals in the industry with anybody that wants a mentor. Certainly we have lots of FEMBAs that sign up for mentors. And we take it pretty seriously in terms of the matches. We interview every single mentor and every single mentee to ensure that we are pairing mentors and mentees that have similar interests. So for example, you're interested in real estate private equity, we would try to find you a mentor that has that particular background, or development or lending or whatever have you. So that's been a hugely popular program. Again, FEMBAs definitely take advantage of it. And if you matriculate to Anderson, we'd encourage you to do so. And also, I don't know if you guys have heard about the capstone projects that are required here at Anderson, but they all have a final project, so to speak, like a field study project. For the FEMBAs in particular, it would be SMR. And you would work for a company, do a strategic management project for a company. And so we definitely try to source real estate companies so that you can focus your SMR activities around real estate. And of course, we advise them as well. And then in lieu of an SMR, you could also do what's called a BCO, or business creation opportunity. And so we've helped several students over the years as well incubate businesses within the real estate space. And then that's the BCO option. So that's just an example of some of the things that we offer extracurricularly in addition to the formal curriculum here through the Zimen Center. Next slide.
Just to jump in here,
Sure.
Tim, just quick little tiny correction. For FEMBA, your version of SMR would be the Global Access Program.
Oh, excuse me, GAP. That's right.
Yeah, so that's, I know there's so many different acronyms, but yeah, so GAP. Yeah, and
actually,
BCO, right?
SMR is for Executive MBA program.
Yeah.
I'm giving the same talk to them next Tuesday, so I get very confused. Sorry. Yeah, GAP.
I just wanted to make sure people were aware.
Yes,
Okay,
so sorry.
I'll go to the next
So
slide.
sorry. And we have advised GAP teams over the years as well. Definitely with respect to, resources and primary and secondary research. Our doors are always open to help students, including FEMBA students, with their GAP projects in terms of introductions to professionals and connections within the industry. As I mentioned, we do focus on networking. We have a very strong real estate alumni group. They're extremely active. They probably put on 4 or 5 programs every single month. And so there's lots of opportunities for you to interface and to network with our alumni. And we actually create, well, when we're in person, we create opportunities to do cocktail networking and things like that. So very strong network base. I think the next slide is just our staff maybe. And hopefully when we're back in person, again, we have open door policy. We invite students to drop into our center all the time. We have a physical space here at Anderson. It's actually right across the pathway from the FEMBA offices, so easy to get to. And I think with that, I'm happy to answer any questions with respect to our real estate program or real estate in general from the audience.
Yeah, and if anybody has a question, you can just unmute and ask.
Nobody has a question. That's shocking.
Hi.
Oh, here we go.
My name's Charlene. I just had a question. I'm new to the real estate industry.
Yep, a lot of people are.
And well, I wanted to manage a few properties that my family owns overseas, but I'd like to know a clear pathway where through this program where I can learn and better manage from where I am, which is in California.
Yeah, what country and what type of properties?
Philippines, and it's like business rental units.
Business rent, like office space or something, or?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Well, listen, that's one of the things about real estate, and particularly real estate finance. It's going to be similar to wherever you are. You're going to need you're going to need equity capital, you're going to need debt capital. And so the way you structure deals are going to be very similar, whether you do it in a different state than California or a different country. The way you model a deal is really quite similar. So the raw tools that you would learn in the classroom, particularly our finance and investment courses, will teach you how to really look at a portfolio. And then there's things like asset management that we teach, where you'll learn how to really get the most out of your existing portfolio, ways to reposition properties, refinance properties. So those are all fundamentals that you would learn in the classroom that you could certainly apply there. The only real difference when you're talking about different states or different countries is the regulatory environment, and sometimes the capital market, like how you access capital is a little bit different, but the fundamentals are really the same. So, and we see a lot of foreign students that come here from other countries. They really want to understand real estate markets from an American perspective, because it's sort of the gold standard. And they've all reported back to us that the training they've received here has been incredibly helpful with respect to their real estate deals in other countries and states. So yeah, I think that we've had plenty of international students come through our program who've been, really satisfied with the training they received.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and of course we have alums and people that we know in the Philippines, so we could even introduce you to folks that invest, that do, real estate deals in the Philippines, just sort of to help build your network.
Yes, please. I'd like that.
Other questions?
Just have a quick question. Do the classes start off at, basic training, or do you recommend any sort of literature or prep for focusing in the real estate area?
Yeah, so, people come in with all different levels of experience. Some are in the real estate industry already, some are career switchers and really know hardly anything about it. So it really depends on sort of where you are with your familiarity within the sector. Certainly, if you're willing, if you want it. So all of the, as Christy mentioned, you would be doing your core courses primarily in the beginning of your program. But once you get past that and you start taking your electives, is when you would start signing up for some of these real estate courses. And one thing that you could do is I always tell our students, familiarize yourself as much as possible with real estate markets, particularly where you think you may want to operate, whether that be in a US market or Southern California or whatever, just to get a sense of who all the deal makers are, what are the companies that are active, what's hot in what market, that kind of thing. Certainly as well, we can give you supplementary materials to read if you're preparing for any particular course. Frequently students that are new will also maybe order the textbook that's used in the classroom, or I can give you access to the materials that the supplemental materials that the teaching faculty use, so that you can really get a head start in terms of and the syllabus as well. We would share the syllabus with you so that you can begin to familiarize yourself with some of the concepts even before you take the course. So that's another thing we could do for you as well.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
To follow up on that question, are there any publications that you'd recommend that kind of helps you follow the trends in real estate? Yeah,
I mean, there are lots of industry rags, so to speak. I generally read the Wall Street Journal. On Wednesdays in the Wall Street Journal is what they have, what's called the property report. So that's where most of the real estate's reported in the journal. I always read the LA Times just to see sort of what's happening locally. If you're interested in development, or just want to have an idea of what's transacting in a market, there's what's called Urbanize LA is a website that sort of follows all the major deals and developments that are happening in Southern California. So that's another one. There's some trade organizations that I might suggest recommend joining as well, like the Urban Land Institute, because they have a lot of programming around this kind of stuff too. There are different, industry trade groups too that you can join depending on what you want to do. There's one for Mortgage Bankers Association, for example. There's one for retail, hospitality. So you may want to join one of those organizations. And then if you have access to any brokers, that may be at a shop like a CBRE or Jones Lang LaSalle or Cushman and Wakefield, they typically have access to reports, and typically will report on deal flow. So you can get a sense of, what's transacting in a market, what's hot, and that kind of thing. And then of course you could also, if you're a FEMBA student, again, always welcome to drop into the Zimen Center. if you're interested in a particular topic, and we could come up with as many resources as possible in terms of further educating yourself on any one area of the industry.
Yeah, it looks like we have time for maybe one last question before we move on to the panel. And also, Tim said he can stick around during the panel too, and we will be opening it up for Q&A again after the panel for the panelists. But if any of the questions fall under Tim's domain, he can help answer questions then as well.
Yep.
Yes, my name is Ian.
Oh,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, is it possible to have two questions then?
yeah, I could do two. Well, Christy's the boss, but
depends on how long the first one is.
I'll answer quickly. I'll answer quickly both.
Okay.
Varun.
Sure. Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Varun, and I work in large capital project management. And so, Professor Tim, what career possibilities would you advise on? Say, if I were to consider pivoting to a full-time real estate employment after the FEMBA program, what kind of career path would you advise are available for someone?
Yeah, well, so I'm sure that some of this stuff is offered through the career services, through the FEMBA program. But as I mentioned, we also supplement that by meeting with students. I've always offered to meet with students individually, hear their stories, hear they want to go, where they want to go, learn the set of experiences that they may already have, and to help put together a strategic plan for yourself professionally. Certainly we have, as I mentioned, programs that introduce you to companies, introduce you to people that may hire you in the future. But with respect to your individual professional growth and path and career strategy, we're happy to sit down and talk with you and formulate something particular to yourself. And I don't know who had the last question.
Thank you, Professor.
Yes. Yes, hi, Tim. Thank you for the for. My name is Ian. So I'm actually working for a commercial real estate lending firm right now.
A lending group?
I see. Yeah, a lending broker actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I see that we have 10 class of the real estate elective in the real estate curriculum. So do we have to take, how many classes we have to take in order to get that certificate?
Yeah, so the specializations, that's an excellent question. The certificate requires 4 courses. So it's the one required course that I mentioned, which is the real estate finance and investment course, and then just 3 of any of the others.
Is there any related to the lending side?
Yeah, so listen, I've always thought that real estate, again, is so interdisciplinary that it benefits you to understand all parts of the industry. So I always say, even though you're going to go into lending or equity side of the business, you should learn the whole thing, because it's really important how you put a deal together. But certainly you would want to do like the capital markets course, securitization course. You're probably familiar with securitization if you're on the debt side. But also the finance and investment course as well. I mean, I should mention that if any of you're FEMBA, so you have some experience. If any of you are already experts in any one of the courses, I can talk to the professor and have you wade through any of them if you've already had a set of career experiences where you don't need that particular course, and still have it count towards your certificate, your emphasis, your specialization.
Okay, thank you. And also I have my last question is that can I get both? So even though if I got into the real estate curriculum, because I'm interested in finance as well, is it possible for me to get into finance curriculum as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can tell you that finance and real estate are very much aligned. And in fact, you could go into, for example, investment banking, it's specifically in real estate. You could be on the debt side specifically in real estate. You could be in the private equity side specifically in real estate. So they're very intertwined. Finance is the sort of the engine that drives deal making in the real estate sector. And we do have lots of students that are contemplating, a career in kind of core finance and possibly real estate. And we could even talk to individual students about how you can possibly combine both. Real estate is one of those industries where it doesn't necessarily need to be your primary profession. It could be a secondary interest where you invest in income properties and things on the side. So, but yeah, we've seen lots of students that have juggled. They're interested in real estate and tech, they're interested in finance and real estate. And, you know, it's typically not until, I don't know how it works for your 3-year program, but, you know, probably you would want to make some decisions about that path within probably year 2. So you can strategically do your internships and that kind of thing. But yeah, there's lots of students that are right in between, and they dual track it and they pick one eventually, but they could also be combined in certain circumstances as well, as I mentioned.
That's perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Tim, so much for your overview of the UCLA Zimen Center. There's so many resources like I didn't even know of till now. So thanks again. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the panelist slide. So actually today we're gonna be taking questions from the audience using Slido for the Femba student and alumni panel. So if you go to www.slido.com and enter this code 34196, which I'll post on the next slide as well, you'll be able to enter your questions there and even upvote any questions that you agree that you'd like to hear answered. So again, here's the information. And let's go ahead and introduce the panel. So welcome, Steve, Hannah, Natalie, and Tanner. Thank you so much for being part of our webinar here today. Hope you're all doing well. So maybe we can start off by having each of you introduce yourselves, tell us your title, company, your Femba class year, and a brief description of what you're doing right now in your career. So we can maybe go in order of the slides. So we'll start with Steve.
Sure. Good evening, everybody, and thanks, Christy, for the invitation to give back to the Femba community. It's always nice to come back into the academic world. So my name's Steve Nunez. I'm a principal at Whitman Peterson. I was a Femba 2017 Section 3, so Tuesday, Thursday night classes. Whitman Peterson, we're an institutional real estate private equity firm. We invest in opportunistic investment opportunities. And I'm primarily responsible for the oversight of our multifamily development platform, and then our outdoor lodging and glamping platform. And then in addition to that, I have a portfolio of about 10 conventional hotels that I oversee. And then on the side, I started a company called Sterman Partners, which works primarily on the residential side, where I use my broker's license to help friends and family purchase homes and investment properties of their own. And you know, worked out a pretty interesting structure where I'm able to pass on about half of my commission to the purchaser of the property. So kind of a little bit of a disruptive model, but that's just a little side gig.
Thanks, Steve. Hey, everyone, I'm Hannah. Nice to meet you all. I am a current Femba 2022. So we just wrapped up our core classes and we've just started our electives effective January. And I am the Director of Development at Regent Properties. Regent's an investment development firm based in Brentwood here in California. And I oversee all of our entitlement and development for the West Coast.
Hi, my name is Natalie. I'm a Femba. I'm actually a 2022 now. I pushed my grad date out a bit. I work at Mosaic Real Estate Investors, which is an opportunistic debt fund on the lending side of the business here in Los Angeles. I'm a vice president of investments, and I split my time between originations, which sourcing new transactions, and asset managing investments that currently exist in our portfolio. We've lended across asset classes, but I'm mostly focused on multifamily at this point.
Hey everybody, Tanner Wilson. I am a Femba 2022 as well. And I am the VP of Development and Asset Management for the state of California for Mark IV Capital. We are a family office out of Newport Beach. We operate kind of in Denver West, some of the growth markets outside of California as well. We do a little bit of everything, but primarily office and industrial. I oversee all asset management functions and development within the state of California. Quite a bit of asset management intensity, but we are also looking to build some stuff in California right now as well. So it's a fun time to be a part of the team.
Great, thank you all so much for introducing yourselves. So next, I would love to hear a little bit about your career journey so far, starting with before Femba up until now. I know you have already talked about your current role, but I would love to hear about, how you got to where you're at now. And we can go in the same order again.
Sure. So in 2010, I went to undergrad, actually graduated from undergrad and completed the real estate development program at USC. So, real estate was something I knew I wanted to get into. And, despite the terrible economic conditions at that time, I was fortunate enough to land a job with Center Square Investment Management, which at the time was a real estate investment arm of BNY Mellon. I spent 2 years there as an analyst in acquisitions and asset management, primarily worked on value add acquisitions of multifamily, office, and industrial in the Western region of the US. And after 2 years there, I joined Barings Real Estate Advisors, really wanting the exposure to more product types and the ability to invest across different areas of the risk spectrum. So I wanted that exposure to development, but also wanted the ability to, work on the acquisition of really high profile core deals. And so I spent 5 years there. While I was there, I was involved in the underwriting of about $4 billion in transactions and closing on ultimately $2 billion of those transactions. So it was a really great, fast-paced environment. Had the opportunity to work on some really incredible deals, and really feel that that's where I got my real estate legs and really learned the industry well. About 3 years into that job, I started the Femba program, and all throughout Femba, I told colleagues of mine and classmates of mine that I was an enhancer, and I really was. I was not looking to leave the company I was at. I was at a good growth trajectory, and I was enjoying what I was doing. But just so happens at one of the Anderson real estate happy hours, I met my now colleague, who was telling me about Whitman Peterson and some of the great things they were working on. And fast forward 6 months from that point, he gave me a call and told me they were looking to fill a position, encouraged me to interview. And long story short, I did, and interviewed literally the day after he called me, and a week later I had accepted an offer. So as I shared earlier, I'm a principal at Whitman Peterson. We're an institutional real estate private equity shop, and yeah, so that's kind of what I'm currently up to right now.
Can you all hear me? I apologize. I just had some technology issues, so I just switched over to my laptop. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
So, did you hear my question, by the way, Hannah?
I did. I could hear everything. I just wasn't on video.
Oh,
Thank you.
Cool.
I graduated undergrad from USC in 2014. Through internships during my undergraduate experience at USC, I decided that I wanted to be in investment and/or development. And so I started my career at CBRE Global Investors on the private equity side of the business. And I was there for 2 years, primarily focused on office and retail acquisitions. And from there, I decided that I wanted to move somewhere, one where I could get exposure to both investment and development, and ultimately decide which path I wanted to pursue further, but also move somewhere that was smaller, where there was greater opportunity for growth and more of an entrepreneurial culture. And so I joined Regent Properties 5 years ago. As I previously mentioned, they're an investment development shop here in Brentwood. And for my first 2 years at Regent, I was doing a mix of both investment and development. And then about 3 years ago, I shifted my focus to solely the development side of the business. And when I first started the Femba program, I was an associate there on the development side. And since I've been promoted to the director of development, and now I oversee and manage all of our entitlement and development from Texas West.
So I started my career at an affordable housing developer here in Los Angeles on the acquisition side. Well, I guess I should back up. I went to SC for undergrad as well. I majored in business with a concentration in Corp Fin and got interested in real estate along that path through classmates and friends. So then ended up on the development side for a bit. was interested in the finance track as well, and ultimately ended up at Nomura in their CMBS group here in Los Angeles. I had a underwriting focused role and underwrote about $2 billion worth of debt across 78 transactions while I was there. I was there through the financial crisis, and that's the obvious end date there, and then moved on to FTI Consulting in their corporate finance practice, more specifically within the real estate group. FTI advises clients on restructurings and workouts. So I experienced that through the downturn during those years, which was a great experience. From there, I took a career pause. I have a bit of a non-traditional background. I was home with my two little ones. I have a 5 and 7-year-old for 7 years, and returned to the workforce in 2017 at Mosaic.
I did not go to USC. I went to college in the West. I went to Ohio State, and then I spent 2 years working as an industrial broker with Jones Lang LaSalle in Columbus. Actually, I primarily did industrial landlord representation, but did a little bit of everything, and it was a great way to get into the business. It was a lot of cold calling, a lot of doors slammed in your face, a lot of no's. But you got exposure to a lot of things, and it was kind of what you made of it. So it was a lot of fun and a great experience. But I had gone to school for real estate and finance, and wanted to kind of sharpen some of those finance skills. And working on the landlord representation side, was curious what the landlords did behind the scenes. So started looking for a job with a landlord, and wanted to come out to California. I'm originally from here, so did have a reason to come out west. And ended up connecting with the firm I've been with for the last 6 years, Mark IV Capital, and started off there as a financial analyst, moved to senior analyst, asset manager, and now my VP position. And it's been a very interesting time there. It's a very flat organization, and we really work on anything within our regions. Like I said, I currently manage California. I used to oversee the Phoenix region. So I've worked, on the property management side of things. I've worked on the legal side of things, acquisitions, financing, really anything that's come down the pipe. I've gotten exposure to, and it's fun working at a smaller firm like that, where you get to see a lot of different things and learn all the different nuts and bolts that make the buildings click. So it's a good place to be.
Great, thank you. Thanks for the overview. So I think it would be helpful for the audience to kind of just hear a little bit about your decision-making process when it came to deciding on business school, as well as why you chose UCLA Anderson FEMBA program. So anybody can start. We can either go in order or mix it up.
I'll reverse the order. I'll take the push first here. So, pursuing my MBA was something I was always interested in doing. I wasn't sure when I was going to do it, but it was always in the back of my mind. And some of my superiors in my firm were very supportive of it, and were MBAs themselves. So I definitely think connecting with other MBAs and hearing about their experience and all of their takeaways kind of motivated me to move in that direction. And real estate, like I said, I've been exposed to so many different facets of the industry, and you're overseeing engineers or architects or brokers or whoever it may be, and you're managing all of these people with different skill sets and from different sub industries within real estate. So, like Tim said, interdisciplinary. That I thought a general management degree would be very useful in overseeing all of these different individuals and teams, because you really can't learn everything in real estate, or you'll never move forward. And then, as far as UCLA goes, I wanted to go to a top ranked program, and I wanted to go to a larger institution, coming from a larger undergrad institution as well. And really the people that I met going through this process, and speaking with other former students really got me hooked at UCLA. And I work down in Newport Beach, so the fact that they had classes offered on Saturdays was big for me. That way I was able to come up to LA on the weekends and participate just as much as somebody that lived in the LA area. So the flexibility was a big sell for UCLA.
I guess I'll go ahead and go next and keep the reverse order going. I'd echo a lot of similar comments to Tanner as to why I wanted to go to business school. It was something I always wanted to do. I felt similarly that a general management degree would be helpful in growing my career in real estate, especially having a strong real estate background, which is why, an MBA versus another program. And in terms of FEMBA, having taken a career pause, I really wanted kind of the joint experience of working and continuing to build my career while also getting my MBA. And it is a great experience to learn and then be able to go apply it immediately at work. So I'm very happy that I went that way. And in terms of why Anderson, it's a great school. I was first introduced to Anderson and the FEMBA program through a very dear friend of mine who graduated, I think, in 2006. And I watched her kind of go through the program and really enjoy it. And then visited, went to events on campus and fell in love. And UCLA was the only school I applied to.
Similar to Natalie, UCLA was also the only school I applied to, and I would echo everything that both Tanner and Natalie just said. I think the only components I would add are that I had a couple of friends already in the FEMBA program, and real estate specific, they spoke so highly of the real estate club and the access and involvement that provides, and it's definitely not disappointed. It's matched, all the expectations that they set for the club. And then similarly, I had a couple of friends doing the BCO program, and that was something that excited me. And we're only just getting started with the BCO path, but similarly, that's also met expectations to date.
So for me, I didn't really see the MBA as being a big difference maker in the short term. MBA for me was a personal goal. I knew I wanted to get an advanced degree, and I knew that down the line, call it 10 to 15 years post MBA, that the MBA would be a big differentiator. And I just hated the idea of being at that point in my career where I was potentially interviewing or jockeying for executive level positions, C-suite positions, and not being qualified simply because I didn't have an advanced degree. So for me, it was a long-term differentiator. But interestingly, I think the MBA has paid dividends in the shorter term. I've already seen it help accelerate my career, and my position that I'm in right now, I don't think I'd be in it without the MBA. And the reason I chose UCLA was first and foremost its reputation. I mean, it's got a national reputation. It's recognized worldwide. So that was very big for me. The FEMBA program in particular was a good mix of on-campus interaction, and the classes and curriculum looked really interesting, even for somebody who was working in the real estate industry. And I did weigh going back to USC for my MBA, but ultimately decided that I wanted to build a broader network. It's part of the whole MBA experience. And second to that, and in true Southern California fashion, I did not want to deal with any of the traffic on the 10 going back to downtown LA 2 or 3 times per week. So UCLA was also the only school I applied to for the MBA, and I'm glad I did.
Wow, a lot of you just had Anderson in mind for a business school. I think that says a lot for sure. So I have a couple more questions, and then I'm going to go over to some questions that the audience has in Slido for you all. But Hannah, since you mentioned the club at the Anderson, the area club, and since you and Tanner are both in co-VP positions of the Anderson Real Estate Association, could you both take a few minutes to talk about your experience and leadership roles in the area club and how FEMBA students can get involved?
Yeah, definitely. So Tanner and I are both co-VPs of the FEMBA Ember Relations, which means we really manage and oversee all the FEMBA specific related events, but also making sure that FEMBAs get fully exposed to everything that the full-time students are being offered through the club and through the MBA program with Zimen. And so Tanner and I, we were both very involved in the club early on. Tanner was actually the director of FEMBA Ember last year, and then we both applied to and got selected to be the VPs of the FEMBA Ember Relations this year. And so I think getting involved in the club in, a leadership position, whether it's specifically the Femba relations role or just any role within the club in leadership, is a really good way to, I guess, first get acquainted with all of the Fembas who are either already in real estate or looking to pursue a career in real estate, as well as get further exposure to some of the full-time students who are also interested in real estate. And I think, Tanner and we both came into the program with a lot of real estate experience. And so we've really put a lot of effort this year into making the club more inclusive for Fembas. And so this year, actually, next week, we're kicking off for the first time a Femba ACT program, which is a student-led coaching program for students interested in switching into real estate. So it's very introductory in terms of, what are the different career paths within real estate? How can you, recruit within real estate? How to prepare a cover letter? How do you, underwrite a real estate pro forma? And because it's student-led, it's, hopefully going to be a very comfortable environment for some of the students to get some very preliminary information, and then ultimately use that to build, their career while they're in the program. Tanner, I don't know if you'd add anything to that.
Yeah, no, we're really excited to kick off the FACT program. And obviously this is a real estate panel, and definitely encourage you to get involved with area when you get on campus, but just get involved in general. The classes are great. The real estate classes are great. The core classes are great. You're gonna learn a lot there, but getting involved is really what makes this program special as a whole. And reach out to your peers and your classmates, whether they be in real estate or elsewhere. But I think being involved in areas really enhanced my my Anderson experience. This year with COVID, the real estate club has been a great social outlet for me as well. Really enjoyed that. And it definitely helps bridge the gap between, especially somebody that was there on doing the Saturday classes. Oftentimes the full-time students weren't on campus at the same time as me. So it was an opportunity for me to cross paths with people that were on campus on different days, and really enjoyed that as well.
All right, thank you. Thanks for sharing about your experiences in area. It sounds like there's some really new cool stuff happening too for career switchers, which is great. Okay, so let's see, maybe one more question. A question for you all from me, and then I'll open it up to the audience. Can you talk a little bit about your how you manage to balance work and school, personal life? I mean, Natalie, juggling having kids too, how did you make it work? What were the struggles? And I mean, any tips or anything for the audience?
You have to be very organized with your time. I feel like it's really about organizing your day and maximizing every minute you have to kind of keep up with everything. One thing I ultimately did, I found an app that would read a PDF to you. So for my commute to work, I'd upload one of my HBS cases or an article that we were supposed to read and have the app read it to me on my way to work. So I think it's really about staying organized and planning out your time.
Anybody else want to add to that?
Yeah, for me, similarly, you definitely become a better manager of time. And at the end of the day, it is a sacrifice, right? Going to a school part-time and working full-time, you're gonna sacrifice some things. So for me, the sacrifices were social life off campus and non-FEMBA related, especially during the first year, and sleep. And so, looking back at it, I don't regret the decision at all, but I think going into it eyes wide open and knowing what you're getting into is important, so that you're not shocked, because the first year, at least for me, was a lot in terms of balancing school and work. And I think after I got into the rhythm, you kind of learn to manage your time better. You learn where to be efficient, and communication with your teams at work, with your bosses is of utmost importance. And I think that really helped kind of, make the process smoother than it otherwise would have been.
Yeah, I'll chime in as well. Time is something that's come up quite a bit. And like I mentioned earlier, I definitely spoke with a lot of people that had gone through part-time MBA programs before I started. And one thing they emphasized was, use it. Don't look at it as a hurdle necessarily. It is a hurdle in a way, but look at it from a positive angle and, use it to refine your time management skills and how to get things done very efficiently. Now, I look at the clock, I'm like, oh, I have 5 minutes. I can knock that out, and you do become very lethal with your time, and you're very cognizant of it. But I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from the whole program. You're going to learn in your class, you're going to network, but the soft skills you develop through time management and prioritization and just balancing everything, you're never going to be you likely won't be in another situation like this, the rest of your life. So I think it's just a massive personal development opportunity. And I know when I come out of the program, I'm going to have to find a hobby or something because I'm going to have a ton of time on my hands. So it's very good in that way.
Yeah. That's something that a lot of Femba grads say. They're like, what do I do now with my time? I have so much time. Hannah, you were going to say something? Hannah,
I would just echo everything that's being said. I think, sorry. Honestly, I would just echo everything that's being said. I was just going to say, I went into the program feeling like I would have to sacrifice my social life, but I feel like, I enjoy the program, I enjoy club, and I've made so many friends both in the real estate industry and outside of the real estate industry that I feel like I just have a different social life now. I don't feel like I've given up anything.
That's so great to hear. Awesome. Thank you for answering my questions. But now I'm going to open it up to questions from the audience in Slido. So one question here, which is a great question regarding curriculum. The question is from Eamon. Eamon is wondering, were you able to take all of your desired electives? And if so, how much restructuring of your work schedules did this require?
Hannah and I both just started taking electives actually. And, I definitely came in with a roadmap, and as I've gotten closer to electives and now in them, I think it shifts, and what you want to take changes, and when it's available changes, and you become a little bit more adaptable. There's so many different classes, you'd love to take. And at the end of the day, you just can't take everything. On the back end of the program, you can, look at audit options, or, enrolling in a class after graduation. There's some extension programs. So I think it's, if you're here and you're interested in an MBA, you're kind of a lifelong student. So I don't think your education has to stop just because you've graduated from the program, but I wouldn't, lose sleep over, oh, I'm not going to get into this elective, or this doesn't fit my schedule. Just, go down the path that works for you at that point in time, and you're going to make the most of it.
I would also add that a lot of the real estate electives are taught by adjunct professors who, also work during the day. And so I've found that a lot of the real estate specific electives, especially taught by Professor Sussman and Professor Habibi, who were mentioned earlier in the presentation, are taught from 4 p.m. onwards on the weeknights.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay, so yes, that's exactly what Tim was saying earlier, is that they aim to do a lot of curriculum electives related to real estate in the evenings. It's Femba friendly. So the next question is for Hannah, specifically from Josh. Josh is wondering, could you please talk about your involvement with the Zimen Center during your first year of core classes? Did you have some involvement much in the first year?
To be honest, the first 2 quarters I was getting married, and so between juggling planning a wedding and leaning into the balance of school and work, I didn't have too much time to be involved in anything. So as soon as I got married and got back from the honeymoon, I definitely made up for it. But in terms of my first year with Zimen, I did get involved in the mentorship program. So I know Tim alluded to that earlier in the presentation, where you get paired with an alumni. And there's a lot of crossover between Zimen and the real estate club. And so from that perspective, there was definitely some involvement with Zimen there too. Tanner, I know you were probably more involved than I was, at least early on in the first two courses. I don't know if you've got anything to add about involvement with Zimen specifically.
Yeah, I did the mentorship program. That's been, a really great experience. And I'd say aside from joining the club, I got involved in the case competitions pretty early on, which I think is something I would advise you to do, because just learning how to go through a case competition, I think puts you in a better position to actually compete in one in either your second or third year. It's definitely a different experience. So I'd say get involved early and often and run with it.
Great. Okay. Another question is from an anonymous. I have heard that careers in real estate investing offer a good work-life balance with 50 to 60-hour work weeks. Has this been the experience of the panel?
For me, starting off, at least as an analyst, it was close to investment banking hours, maybe not Manhattan investment banking hours, but I was regularly working 60 to 70 hours a week, and that really did persist through the end of my time at Baring. So that was 7 years into my career. I think as you progress through the industry, the work-life balance definitely does become more apparent, but early on you're paying your dues and you're learning a lot, you're going through models, and you're spending a lot of time working on due diligence, blocking and tackling, which is great because you get great experience. But as you progress, yeah, it gets much better.
It can also be relatively uneven depending on your deal flow.
That's true. One other point I'll make is on holidays and summer, the industry tends to have this ebb and flow where naturally in the summers things tend to slow down. Naturally in the holidays things tend to slow down. It's pretty predictable in the summer. Deal flow kind of stops around June and July for a bit. So it does make it a bit easier to plan vacations or family getaways.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Great. Let's see. How much collaboration between your fellow students occurs outside of Anderson and in your current work? For example, deals, advice, etc. Anybody want to take that question?
I haven't done any deals with anybody that I've met through Anderson, but I definitely talk with fellow real estate students about things that I'm working on, concepts. I'm doing a BCO team that's focused on just acquiring real estate. It's pretty down the middle. So we definitely talk about real estate a lot, but I think that will, change and grow as time goes on. I've been in the program for about 1.5 years. So in real estate time, that's not all that long. So I'm sure there will be opportunities as time goes on where I'll work with other folks from the program.
Does anybody else want to add to that?
I would agree with Tanner that I think we're both probably early on to be, forming relationships to do deals outside of the program. But my husband actually graduated from his MBA 2 years ago, and he right now is doing a deal where one of his fellow MBAs is the investor and another is the broker. So, in our household, I've definitely seen the value that, an MBA relationship can create, as we progress through our careers.
Cool. Thank you for answering that. And
Anna, you probably work with Pat Devitt, huh?
Yes, I do. I work very closely with Pat.
Yeah, tell him I said hello. Great guy, Anderson alum. Just had a kid, I think, so.
He did. He had his kid was actually over a couple of weeks ago. I think it scared my husband enough that he doesn't want to have kids for at least another 5 years.
Tell him I said hi.
Sounds like a small world, huh? In the real estate industry. Is this like more real estate colleagues?
Yeah, Pat works at Regent with me, and he graduated from the Anderson MBA, I think, Tim, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Okay.
I think 3 years ago. Yeah, he still
3 years ago,
volunteers here in
yeah.
our programs. He's great.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, just a couple more questions here from the audience. One question from Michelle. Michelle says, my real estate background is in affordable housing development. What electives surprised you and had an impact on your career or current job? Any electives that stood out to any of you so far?
For me, I think I'll point to two. One of them was a taxation class taught by Professor Fratius. He was absolutely incredible. It was on a Saturday morning, actually it was Saturday morning through the afternoon. And it was, I think, a 6-hour class, and he made that time just fly. That class really stood out to me, really real life applicability, and learning taxation from a personal perspective, an estate planning perspective, and then a real estate perspective. And then I think the real estate ones, whether it was Sussman or Habibi, those were great classes, even for somebody who had been working in the real estate industry, for 5+ years at that point.
What affordable housing company do you work for? Out there.
Sorry, it took a second for me to be off mute. I work from Meta Housing Corporation. We're based in Los Angeles.
Yeah. So do you know Tim Sewell?
I do. I know him very well.
Yeah, he's a good friend as well. Please tell him I said hi. And he's an Anderson alum as well.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
And Michelle, specific to affordable housing, Tanner and I actually just started the affordable housing class with Andrew Gross, the former president of Thomas Safran Associates. And, we've only taken the first class so far, so I can't speak too much towards it, but the first class was great. And that's just an example of, the variety of classes offered, that there is something, so specific, specifically in the financing of affordable housing, taught by someone, as impressive as Andrew Gross with his, I think, 20 years of background as the president of Thomas Safran.
Amazing. Yeah, there's some really impressive, everybody's impressive at Anderson, but I'm just blown away at the quality of our professors, like, all the time. And yes, Stephen, you mentioned Professor Fratius. He is one of our senior associate deans at Anderson. And so he's actually going to be offering a class visit, I believe, on taxation for admitted applicants. So if you apply and you're admitted, you may have the opportunity to sit in one of his classes virtually, which is exciting. Okay, so here's one more question, or a couple more questions from the audience. Let's see, let me read this through. Okay, so here's the question. So what are some of the career paths in real estate? And does the coursework help you decide the best career path for you? Or should we know this before starting? I guess this could be a great question for any of you on the panel, or Tim.
Yeah, I think that as I said, the curriculum we designed is pretty broad, so it exposes to you a lot of different things. We definitely have had students over the years that came in knowing they wanted to do real estate, but weren't sure exactly what sector they would want to go into. Some of the determination depends on sort of the background and experience you bring to the program before you come, if you've already been in real estate. But certainly through the courses, and I would say maybe even more so than the actual curriculum, which is very broad, is the programs like the mentor program or the case competitions, where you actually get to sort of get into the weeds on specific sectors within industry and then generally gravitate. We've had, some students that have kind of an inkling of the sector they may want to go into. It could be by property type. So maybe they're really interested in hospitality or hotel or value add multifamily like Steve does. And some that are still pretty broad. And but over the course of 3 years, hopefully with all the exposure, both in terms of the curriculum and all the extracurricular activities and networking, that you would begin to, narrow it down, and then, hopefully by certainly your last year, really focus on landing a job and really honing your skills towards a specific sector in the business. That'd be my 2 cents.
The club definitely offers a lot of opportunities to interact with different sectors. They have days on the job where you can go and shadow different types of operators in different parts of the business, and just I think there's so many different opportunities to get exposed to different facets of real estate through area. I'd encourage you to sign up if you're not sure what direction you want to go.
I would also suggest reaching out to alums for informational interviews and ask them what their day's like, what they like about their job. I think that's a great way too to start thinking about where you want to go if you're not sure.
Yeah, those are all really good suggestions. And if any of you are thinking about applying to FEMBA or have already applied, we welcome career switchers, explorers. UCLA Anderson is a great place to just try new things, meet new people. And, as we mentioned earlier, the first year is a great time to start exploring, right? Because you're all taking the same core courses. So starting to, join the clubs and talk to people, talk to alumni, as Natalie suggested, really will help you figure out like, okay, how do I want to focus the last year or two of the program? So definitely is time for that. Okay, so I'm going to do one last question here, and then we'll wrap up. So the last question is actually pretty similar, but maybe Tim can chime in here too. So the question is, given that all of your backgrounds are in real estate, what would you recommend for a successful change into the industry?
I didn't catch that, Christy. To change in the industry, change
into the industry. So if somebody's not in the real estate industry but wants to switch into it, what would you recommend for a successful switch?
I saw a few of my classmates make the switch into real estate, and I think some of the things they did well is early on start networking, especially with your classmates. There's a good likelihood you'll have 1 or 2 classmates who are already working in the industry, and so they are a good in. If they hear of a job opening at their company or elsewhere, they can help plug you in and kind of vouch for you, as I did for a few classmates of my own. So network early, and then I joined a bit early and heard about some of the modeling classes that are available. I would take full advantage of those so that you really lay down the groundwork and you are able to go into a real estate analyst or associate job and day one hit the ground running and have the basic skills that are necessary in order to succeed at that level.
Yeah, I tell our students that are career switchers and brand new to real estate that they have in FEMBAs, you have 3 years to build a resume to demonstrate that you're qualified for real estate, and in the full-time students it's 2 years. But to sort of backfill that experience, definitely take all the courses you can, know where your deficiencies are. Most of the students that come in, as I mentioned earlier, need to beef up their finance skills and their financial modeling skills and understand a pro forma. So that's something you should focus in on. Sometimes students, we would recommend they maybe just do an academic internship, and maybe just like learn underwriting and do underwriting all summer for somebody, just for several hours a week, and to join different organizations and participate in as many of the programs as that's offered through area, so that when you put your resume together after 2 or 3 years, you've really made a case for yourself being proficient and dedicated to the real estate industry. But you definitely have the onus is a little more on you if you are brand new to build that case for yourself during the 2 or 3 years that you're here.
That's a really good point. Yeah, just the extra time in FEMBA definitely is an advantage for sure. Okay, so thank you all again for being part of this webinar today and spending your evening with us. Really, really appreciate the informative advice and just your own experiences that would really help our prospective students here today just kind of envision themselves here at UCLA Anderson and how they'll be able to take advantage of the resources during their time. Any final words of advice or any final thoughts from any of you on the panel? And Tim?
I'd say apply and come join the Anderson family for sure.
Okay. Anybody else? Any final words of advice or encouragement?
Get involved early. I've said it a lot, but I think it's really super important to just step outside the classroom and do the extracurriculars, and like Tim said, apply and you'll get through it. It's fun. It's a great experience.
Don't let it intimidate you. Go into it eyes wide open, know what you want to accomplish, have fun, meet as many people as you can, and have that goal set out early in front, what it is you want to accomplish at the end of it. And that may change as you go through the program, but I think you'll find that it's a fantastic program. You're going to meet lifelong friends for sure.
Okay, great. Well, with that, I'm going to just I'll put up my contact information here, my email address. So again, thank you all for attending. If you would like to learn more about the FEMBA application process and admissions requirements, we will be hosting some additional info sessions and a application workshop very soon. So I'll be sending you a follow-up email sometime tomorrow with links to sign up for those upcoming events. But in the meantime, feel free to reach out to me. I also do one-on-one appointments if you want to set up a time to discuss your candidacy for the program. And until then, just be well and be healthy and safe. Have a good evening, everyone.